Jai. So welcome everyone to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class, where we will be reading from the 5th canto, chapter 19. This chapter is called The Island of Jambudvip, and we'll be covering, we're starting from text 25. The verse that we'll focus on is 27. So, just read text 25.
We're starting at 25.
Yeah.
And then we're focusing on 27.
27. Text 25. Bharatvarsha offers the proper land and circumstances in which to execute devotional service, which can free one from the results of jnana and karma. If one obtains a human body in the land of Bharatvarsha with clear sensory organs to which to execute the Sankirtan Yagya, but in spite of this opportunity he does not take to devotional service, he is certainly like liberated forest animals and birds that are careless and are therefore again bound by a hunter. So yeah, we're continuing with this very interesting and important truth or fact that the demigods who go to the heavenly planets, this is who's speaking here, the demigods are in the heavenly planets and they're wishing that they could take birth on earth, on Bharatvarsha, because they're in the heavenly planets and they have a lot of sense gratification, but they get stuck and they realize that, oh my God, we're here for a very, very long time. You know, we're here for just an incredibly long time, and we have very little opportunities for devotional service. We came here because we had a desire for sense gratification, and there's plenty of that, but then having realized that this is not really the goal of life, and this is not really helping us in our progress as souls, of course, it helps a little bit because, you know, they're still serving Krishna in a sense, especially the leaders of the heavenly planets, like like Indra, who's king of heaven. So he's doing important service. But the general residents of the heavenly planets, they're just enjoying, and they're just living it up, taking advantage of all the facilities and opulences of the heavenly planets for their sense gratification. So when a soul in the heavenly planets realizes that this is not really helping me so much, this is not the thing that's in my best self-interest, and like where I really need to be is on earth, because Bharatvarsha is the place where you can perform devotional service. Actually, the earth is considered to be, it's called Karmastan, or the place where we accrue karma, and it's also the place where we can become free from our karma. So basically this is this earth planet is the place where we determine our destiny. And then the other places are places where we just live out that destiny for as long as it lasts, and then we come back to earth to determine our next destiny. So if while on earth we do a lot of pious activities, if we do a lot of good deeds, then we'll get a lot of credits, and we're desiring sense gratification, we'll go to the heavenly planets to enjoy. If while on earth we do a lot of bad deeds, we'll get bad karma, and then we'll go to lower planets, and then we'll have to suffer reactions for those bad activities. If we go upwards to heaven, then we'll enjoy, and as we enjoy, every time we enjoy, our good karma diminishes. So it's like, okay, that was fun, less good karma. Well, that was great, less good karma. So every time we're enjoying something, less good karma. And then when it gets down to zero, it's like, okay, time's up, back down to earth. Your credits ran out, back to earth. Or if we go to hellish planets, we're suffering. And then every time we suffer, it's like, okay, less bad karma, you burn that off. Another suffering, oh, that was terrible. All right, little less bad karma, you burn that one. And then when we finished our bad karma, about zero again, then back to earth. Now what are you going to do? Are you going to do good things and go to heaven? Are you going to do bad things and go to hell again? Or are you going to get free from all of your karma and get out of material bondage and go back home, back to Godhead? Because what's keeping us in the cycle of repeated birth and death is karma, right? And the desire to have material experiences separately from Krishna. That's what causes our karma. So if we can get free from karma, then we can get free from the cycle of repeated birth and death. We don't have to take birth again to live out our karma, because we don't have any karma. So basically we can just get out of this wheel of samsara and go back to the spiritual world. Then depending on what spiritual desires we cultivated during our lifetime, then that will determine where in the spiritual world we go, right? If we're just, we can go to Brahmajyoti and just be a particle of light there. Of course, that's not sustainable, so ultimately end up coming back down here. Or we can go to Vaikuntha, can go to Goloka and be with Krishna. So that's what we should be cultivating. Those are the desires that we're meant to be cultivating now, as our spiritual desires, transcendental desires. How do I want to serve Krishna eternally? Where do I want to live eternally? In what way am I going to relate with Krishna? And like that. So we're aspiring to realize all those things and increase our yearning, our longing for that association and that engagement. And all of those things, and engaging in the processes that qualify us for that, basically. Because it's not enough to just be karma-free. We also need to actually awaken our dormant attraction and attachment and love for Krishna and his eternal associates. So that's what we're working on. That's what the process of bhakti does, right? First, it purifies us of all the anarthas, all of the bad qualities that keep us here, like lust and anger and greed and pride and envy and ignorance and illusion. And then simultaneously, it awakens our higher self. It awakens our dormant spiritual emotions in connection with Krishna and our spirit of service, spirit of devotional service. So the demigods are eager to have this experience, to have the opportunity to engage in bhakti. Because bhakti is the only thing, it's the only activities. Service of the Lord is the only activity that doesn't get karma. And that actually can take us back home, back to Godhead. So Prabhupada says in this purport here that in the land of Bharatvarsha, one can very easily perform Sankirtan Yajna, which consists of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, or other items of devotional service like Smaranam, Vandanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, and Atma Nivedanam. So all the 9 processes of devotional service, they're very easy to do on earth. Of course, everything's relative. We find that, it's not so easy, and a lot of people on earth are not taking to these processes, but they're available. Whereas in the heavenly planets, it's not so easy. And definitely on the hellish planets, it's very difficult. So the facilities are not there. The scriptures are not so accessible. The gurus are not there, and like that. So, yeah, and also on this earth, it's brought out in a couple of different purports in this section that earth, or Bharatvarsha, is the place where the Lord appears. When Krishna comes, he comes again and again to this planet. He comes to this planet. He doesn't go to the heavenly planets so often. He doesn't go to the hellish planets so often. But this is the place that he comes, millennium after millennium. In different forms, he sends avatars, he sends his eternal associates like Srila Prabhupada from the spiritual world to teach Krishna consciousness to people on earth, because this is the place. This is the place where we can make that choice. It's easy to engage in these processes. So sometimes when we're in preaching or in outreach, we talk about, ripe fruits or low-hanging fruits, right? We want to go there's a lot of people out there. Some are just totally not interested in Krishna consciousness at all. Others, they're kind of seeking, they're looking for something, they're ready. So say those are the ripe fruits. Or sometimes we'll say that people from the Indian background are low-hanging fruits. They're very easy to make devotees because they're already culturally aligned. They already have an interest. It's familiar. It's easy to accept. So in preaching all over the universe, in consideration of all the different planets of the universe, Earth is a place where you find. So we, residents of this Earth planet, are the low-hanging fruits, the ripe fruits. So that's why the Lord comes here. And that's why all the so many avatars come here and preach Krishna consciousness, because we can take it and it's easier for us, and we can make our life perfect here and go directly back to Godhead. So, and because Krishna comes here, then when he comes, he brings so many nice things with him, right? Like his associates, his dham. So we have the dhams here. We're learning about the Asiri Navadvip dham, Vrindavan dham, Ayodhya dham, all the different dhams of the Lord, holy places of pilgrimage that we can go to and remember these pastimes. There's so many things going for us here. We just have to do it. And we see the demigods are hankering and hankering. So if somebody takes birth on earth in a human form of life, because the animals are also on earth, insects are on earth, plants are on earth, but they can't take to devotional service. So here we are, the best place, we've got the best kind of body, a human body here on earth, and we have full facility to take to devotional service. So the demigods are seeing this, and they're like, wow, these people are so fortunate. But in spite of the opportunity, if they don't take to devotional service, then it says they're just like forest animals that were caught by a hunter and freed, but then they got caught again. So it's like when we take birth on earth, it's like we're freed. It's like we have this chance. Now you can be free. Because the forest animal, it's like they're freed. Now you can live a free life. Now you can, make your home, make your family, eat what you want, that whatever you can find out there in the forest. You can live a good life. Because the hunter is just going to keep you captive in a cage and is eventually going to kill you to sell your, body parts. So we are in a situation where we're kind of like trapped in a cage. Demigods are seeing that their position in the heavenly planets is like they're like trapped in a cage because they can't take to devotional service so easily. They can't fulfill the actual mission of the soul in the material world, and they're doomed to just die. But here we have the freedom to perform devotional service, which is the real freedom. That's the opportunity that everybody, the soul, actually wants. So we have that opportunity, we have the freedom, we have the facility, and if we don't do it, it's like we're willingly, just voluntarily walking into the hunter's cage again and saying, okay, just restrain me, just prohibit me from doing the things that I need to do to perfect my life, and eventually just kill me. So we don't want to be so foolish. This is a foolishness. Prabhupada says one should endeavor to go back home, back to Godhead. Otherwise, there's no difference between human life and the lives of animals and birds. So, to make good use of this human form of life. Okay, the next verse here. Okay, someone please read 26.
In India, Lord Varsha, there are many worshippers of the demigods, the various officials appointed by the Supreme Lord, such as Indra, Chandra, and Surya, all of whom are worshipped differently. The worshippers offer the demigods their oblations, considering the demigods part and parcel of the whole, the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts these offerings and gradually raises the worshippers to the real standard of devotional service by fulfilling their desires and aspirations. Because the Lord is complete, He offers the worshippers the benediction they desire, even if they worship only part of His transcendental body.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's interesting here because the demigods are talking about people who worship them, who worship the demigods. So he's saying, there are these people that don't quite get it. They worship us. Why would they do that? We're not even in such a great position here in the heavenly planets. We'd rather be in their position. But there they are in the best position. But instead of worshiping the Supreme Lord, they're worshiping us. Like, oh my God. They're so confused. But they're saying that the Lord is so kind that even though people worship the demigods, still He fulfills their desires. Generally, people worship the demigods because of material desires. And it's even given there in the scriptures, like in the second canto, chapter 3, starting from, I think, verse 2 or 3, going up to verse 9. It talks about all the different things that if you want this, like if you want good children, worship the Prajapatis. If you want a happy marriage, worship Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. If you want beauty, worship the Gandharvas. If you want a strong body, worship the earth. If you want power, worship Agni, the demigod of fire. So like that, it gives so many. There's like many, many things there that if you want this, then worship this demigod. But then it concludes that, but if a person's really intelligent They won't worship any of these demigods. They'll worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Whole. And it specifically mentions He's the Supreme Whole, and the demigods are just parts. They're just parts and parcels. But the demigods are saying that even though even though people worship us, who are just parts, Krishna accepts that, okay, well, they're trying. They're at least worshiping a higher power. They're intelligent enough to realize that they're not the supreme controllers. They're not, the end-all and be-all, that there are higher personalities, and they're worshiping them. But Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that it's He that He actually gives people faith to worship the demigods, and that He's the one who supplies or provides the benedictions that come through the demigods. That the gifts that the demigods can bestow, Krishna says, are bestowed by me alone. And here the demigods recognize that. They're saying that they worship us, but it's the Lord who accepts the offerings, and it's the Lord who fulfills their desires, and in doing so, the Lord very kindly elevates the worshippers of demigods to the real standard of devotional service. So that's Krishna's kindness. Okay, so this is the topic for today's class, is that the demigods are actually glorifying the Lord's mercy on those who have material desires. So Krishna, he wants us to be free from material desires, and he's very pleased with someone who is free from material desires and who approaches him and worships him and serves him just with a desire to please him. But he doesn't have bad feelings towards those who worship him with material desires. He's actually very kind and compassionate, and we're going to see how in these verses here. So text 27, we're going to do the Sanskrit here.
Apparently can't hear you on YouTube. The mic is right there.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Should I yell? Sanskrit, please.
Oh, Sanskrit.
The Sanskrit verse. Okay, thank you. Satyam dishatyartitam artito nrinam. Satyam dishatyartitam artito nrinam. Naivartado yad punar artitayata. Swayam vidate bhajatam anicchatam. Icha pidanam nijapada pallavam. Satyam dishyatartitam artito nrinam. Naivartado yad punar artitayata. Swayam vidate bhajatam anicchatam. Icha pidanam nijapada pallavam. Please chant. Satyam dishatyartitam artito nrinam. Naivartado yad punar artitayata. Swayam vidate bhajatam anicchatam. Swayam vidate bhajatam anicchatam. Icha pidanam nijapada pallavam. Icha pidanam nijapada pallavam. Someone else?
Satyam dishatyartitam artito nrinam.
Satyam dishatyartitam artito nrinam.
Naivartado yad punar artitayata.
Naivartado yad punar artitayata.
I was going to try to change the
Swayam
angle because
vidate
it's like this.
bhajatam
Okay, let's do the word for word all together. Satyam, certainly. Dishati, he offers. Artitam, the object prayed for. Artita, being prayed to. Nrinam, by the human beings. Na, not. Eva, indeed. Artada, the bestower of benedictions. Yat, which. Punaha, again. Artita, a demand for a benediction. Yata, from which. Swayam, personally. Vidate, he gives. Bhajatam, unto those engaged in his service. Anichatam, although not desiring it. Icha pidanam, which covers all desirable things. Nijapada pallavam, his own lotus feet. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives. But he does not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it, and that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy. So this is very kind of the Lord, that he actually, anyone who approaches him with material desires, material motivations, it says the Lord fulfills those desires. But he does it in such a way that we don't keep coming again and again with more material desires. And that the Lord, because we approach him, then he gives us shelter at his lotus feet, even if that's not what we wanted. So there are a lot of people that they don't care about the Lord. They don't want to, they're not interested in knowing about him or having a relationship with him, but they just want to use him to fulfill their material desires. And so the Lord, he kindly fulfills the desires, and he also invites them to have a relationship with him and attracts them to have a relationship with him, and they become his devotees. Because he knows that the material things are not going to satisfy them. The only thing that's going to satisfy them is himself. And so he gives them the thing that they want, but he also gives himself along with it. Mm-hmm. And then they realize that actually that was what I wanted. That was like the thing that fulfills all my desires eternally. So that's the Lord's mercy. Is it good enough? Otherwise I'll just keep holding.
Try it out.
Okay, that seems good. Alright, Krishna. Alright, Srila Prabhupada's purport. The devotees mentioned in the previous verse approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead with material motives. But this verse explains how such devotees are saved from those desires. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10 advises. So this is, remember I was talking about all the verses that if you want this, worship this demigod. If you want that, worship that demigod. So at the end of that whole list, this is the verse that comes. Kama sarva kama ova, moksha kama udarati, tivrena bhakti yogena, yajeta purusham param. Whether one is freed from all material desires, is full of material desires, or desires to become one with the Supreme, he should engage in devotional service. So this is the recommendation of Shukadeva Goswami, that if you have material desires, worship Krishna. If you don't have any material desires, worship Krishna. If you're desiring liberation, worship Krishna. Whatever, all of the above, any of the above, just worship Krishna. And everything will be sorted out. Everything will become perfect. So, in this way, not only will the devotee's desire be fulfilled, but the day will come when he will have no other desire than to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. One who engages in the service of the Lord with some motive is called a sakam bhakta. So kama means desire, and sa means with. So you're a bhakta, you're a devotee, but you have some material desire. Sakam bhakta. And one who serves the Lord without any motives is called an akama bhakta. So a means without, or not. So without any desire. Krishna is so merciful that he turns a sakama bhakta into an akama bhakta. A pure devotee, an akama bhakta, who has no material motives, is satisfied simply to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6.22. Yam labdva chaparam labam manyate nadikam tata. If one engages in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, he does not want anything more. So that's the verse where he's talking about how when one attains the transcendental platform of serving Krishna, he thinks that there is no greater gain. This is the highest stage of devotional service. The Lord is so kind, even to the Sakama Bhakta, a motivated devotee, that he satisfies his desires in such a way that one day he becomes an Akama Bhakta. Dhruva Maharaj, for example, became a Bhakta with the motive of getting a better kingdom than that of his father. But finally he became an Akama Bhakta and said to the Lord, Swamin Kritarto Smivaram Nayache. My dear Lord, I am very satisfied simply to serve your lotus feet. I do not want any material benefits. Sometimes it is found that a small child eats dirty things, but his parents take away the dirty things and offer him a sandesh or some other sweet. Devotees who aspire for material benedictions are compared to small children. Just so small children like sitting out there eating dirt. The Lord is so kind that he takes away their material desires and gives them the highest benediction. So the Lord comes along and is like, stop eating this dirt, take a sweet instead. In other words, stop hankering, stop going for material desires, take me instead. Krishna's a sweet ball. Therefore, even for material motives, one should not worship anyone other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One must fully engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord so that all his desires will be fulfilled. And at the end, he can go back home, back to Godhead. So it's just interesting that Krishna, he fulfills the desires of the devotees. Like if you ask devotees who've been practicing Krishna consciousness for a long time, it's almost amazing how everything that you ever wanted, it's like somehow it manifests in some way, shape, or form. And even things that you wanted when you were younger, before you became a devotee, it's something that you wanted to do. And you don't even want it anymore, but Krishna's like, oh yeah, remember when you were 10 years old, you wanted this? Here you go. It's just like everything. And then you might be like, oh, thanks, or it's okay, I appreciate the gesture, but no thanks. But Krishna offers it. He's like, I just want you to be totally happy. I don't want you to have any hankerings. I just be completely satisfied with your material experience here so that you, at the end of life, don't have anything left on your bucket list. You can just come back to me. So, so this Lord Chaitanya talks about this in his instructions. I'm not going to read this rest of the purport, but I'm going to rather read from the section of Caitanya Caritamrita where this whole thing is given, because I think it's more clear to do it that way. Prabhupada basically, he just condenses what's here in CC here in this last paragraph of the purport. So if you want, you can go to this. It's Madhya Lila of Caitanya Caritamrita, chapter 22. They still can't hear me?
No, it's getting staticky.
So we're going to start from text 31. I'll just go ahead. So text 31. This is a famous verse. Krishna Surya Samamaya Haya Andakara Yahan Krishna Tahana Hi Mayara Adhikara. You can go to the translations. I won't read all the Bengali this time. So the translation here, Krishna is compared to the sunshine and Maya is compared to darkness. Wherever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon as one takes to Krishna consciousness, the darkness of illusion, the influence of the external energy will immediately vanish. Text 32. The external illusory energy of Krishna, known as Maya, is always ashamed to stand in front of Krishna, just as darkness is ashamed to remain before the sunshine. However, that Maya bewilders unfortunate people who have no intelligence. Thus they simply boast that this material world is theirs and that they are its enjoyers. Text 33. One is immediately freed from the clutches of Maya if he seriously and sincerely says, My dear Lord Krishna, although I have forgotten you for so many long years in the material world, today I am surrendering unto you. I am your sincere and serious servant. Please engage me in your service. So this is an important prayer to remember. If we say this to Krishna with sincerity, then even once, then we're immediately freed from the clutches of Maya. So there you go. If you're ever in Maya, just turn to Caitanya Caritamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 33, and say this with all your heart, and Maya's going to go away. Text 34. Because Krishna says, Krishna actually takes this vow. It is my vow that if one only once seriously surrenders unto me, saying, my dear Lord, from this day I am yours, and prays to me for courage, I shall immediately award courage to that person, and will always remain safe he will always remain safe from that time on. So this is, Krishna actually takes a vow, the Lord. Actually, this is Lord Ramachandra. It comes from Lord Ramachandra, but Lord Ramachandra is not different from Krishna. So.
Is this the scene where Vibhishana surrenders? Or wait, Ravana's brother surrenders into him?
I'm not sure. Do you know?
Not the scene. I mean the.
They're all standing in the shore of the ocean, and they are already crossed, and they're waiting for water to be weighed. And Vibhishana approaches.
Okay, so it's Vibhishana. He surrenders to the Lord. He says, yes, it's my vow that whoever surrenders to me, I will take care of. Okay, text 35. Okay, so now we're coming to the point where somebody who has already surrendered to Krishna. So we're talking about this person who, says, Krishna, from this day, I'm yours. I'm your, so long in this material world, I've been trying to enjoy myself, but I'm giving up on that pursuit. I'm turning to you. Please accept me as your servant. Okay, but then, due to bad association, the living entity desires material happiness, liberation, or merging into the impersonal aspect of the Lord, or he engages in mystic yoga for material power. If such a person actually becomes intelligent, he takes to Krishna consciousness by engaging himself in intense devotional service to Lord Sri Krishna. And now here's the verse that we just read in the purport. Whether one desires everything or nothing, or whether he desires to merge into the existence of the Lord, he is intelligent only if he worships Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by rendering transcendental loving service. So all of you here are very intelligent because you're serving Krishna. Okay, then it says, if those who desire material enjoyment or merging into the existence of the absolute truth engage in the Lord's transcendental loving service, they will immediately attain shelter at Krishna's lotus feet, although they did not ask for it. Krishna is therefore very merciful. So this is what the demigods are commenting on. Krishna is so merciful, he does this. Krishna says, so this is how Krishna feels about somebody who's actually turned to him and is trying to serve him, but still has material desires. Krishna says, if one engages in my transcendental loving service, but at the same time wants the opulences of material enjoyment, he is very, very foolish. Indeed, he's just like a person who gives up ambrosia to drink poison. So that's kind of similar to what the demigods are saying. It's just like a person who is given freedom, but again, just walks into the hunter's cage. So ambrosia means nectar. Okay, like a heavenly beverage. So, okay. So now this is what Krishna thinks. This person's very foolish. So now how is he going to respond to this person, the devotee who has material desires? So he says, since I am very intelligent, why should I give this fool material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. So he's saying that this person is a fool. They've come to me, but they still have material desires. But he's like, but I'm not so fool. I'm not going to be a fool like him. And I'm very intelligent. So I actually know what's good for my devotee. And why should I fulfill those foolish desires? So then continues here. Whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desire, he undoubtedly does so. So he says, I'm intelligent. Why should I just fulfill their material desires? And then he has another thought. He's like, actually, I should fulfill their material desires, but I should do it in a way that purifies them of the desire. So this is what it says here. This is the verse. Actually, this is the verse that we just read the Sanskrit of, 5:19:27. Whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desire, he undoubtedly does so, but he does not award anything which, after being enjoyed, will cause one to petition him again and again to fulfill further desires. When one has other desires but engages in the Lord's service, Krishna forcibly gives one shelter at his lotus feet, where one will forget all other desires. Text 41. When someone engages in Lord Krishna's devotional service for the satisfaction of the senses, and instead acquires a taste for serving Krishna, he gives up his material desires and willingly offers himself as an eternal servant of Krishna. And then this is the last one I'll read here. When he was being blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhruva Maharaj said, "O my Lord, because I was seeking an opulent material position, I was performing severe types of penance and austerity. Now I have gotten you, who are very difficult for the great demigods, saintly persons, and kings to attain. I was searching after a piece of glass, but instead I have found a most valuable jewel. Therefore I am so satisfied that I do not wish to ask any benediction from you." So it's very comforting, reassuring that as devotees, even if we have material desires, Krishna knows how to handle those things. And he will generally tend to fulfill them, but he'll do it in such a way that we won't want it anymore. You know, we'll be able to, we'll get what we want, and we'll experience a certain situation, or we'll enjoy some facility, a position, some enjoyable object in this world, and Krishna will arrange that experience in such a way that it kind of runs its course. And then we're like, all right, well, that was nice, and I don't need it anymore. I'm ready to move on. So thank you very much, Krishna, for the experience, for fulfilling that little desire that I had. And, you know, it just makes me love you even more. Because you gave me a chance to kind of live that out, you know? And, yeah, and I realized that, it made me realize that the thing that I wanted so much, okay, I got a little bit of pleasure out of it, but I also, you know, there were also difficulties involved. You know, it also caused me some trouble. But in the course of it, I realized that the real happiness comes from you only, and that the only reason that you gave me that thing anyways was to enhance our relationship, was for the sake of the relationship. Just like sometimes the child may want something, the parents, they know it's not the greatest thing, right? So they don't really want to give it, but it might come to a point where, especially, you know, if you have a teenage child or something, or an adult child living at home, it might come to the point where if I don't allow my son or daughter to have this thing, then, you know, they might just take off. They might just be like, okay, then, you know, I'm out of here. I'm going to do what I want with or without you, and then leave. So for the sake of not destroying the relationship, they might, you know, give the child something that's not great for them. But they'll also guide the child. You know, if they're good parents, they're going to guide the child through the experience. You know, because they know it's not going to come to a good end. You know, they know that it's going to have some bitter fruits along the way. So like, okay, here's the thing that you wanted, here's the situation, whatever you wanted. But I just want to warn you that there's some dangers in this. I want you to be very careful. I want you to know that in navigating this situation, we are here for you, and like that. So sometimes Krishna is like that. He'll give us a situation, but he knows that it's going to be frustrating and disappointing, and it's going to lead to our unhappiness. But we're bent on it. But he'll be like, okay, here you go, have it, but just know that this is only a temporary thing. It's not going to make you ultimately happy, and, you know, I'm always here for you. And just turn to me, you know, if and when things get bad, just turn to me, just take more shelter of me. And sometimes it actually helps. Sometimes when we try to fulfill our material desires, it can be helpful, because one, we realize that thing is not going to make us happy. We realize that it's just going to be a cause of our frustration, and it'll force us to take shelter of Krishna. You know, so, and that's what Krishna is saying here, is that he what was that one? It says that he forcibly, he forcibly gives the person, the devotee, the shelter of his lotus feet, even if he didn't want it. So he gives us that thing, and then he knows it's doomed for failure, but that the frustration that arises in our attempt to fulfill our material desires brings us to a situation where we have no other choice except to take shelter of Krishna. And so we're forcibly brought to Krishna's lotus feet. So that happens for devotees. Doesn't necessarily happen for non-devotees. But Krishna, he's very, very kind. And because the only reason he fulfilled our material desire was out of love and out of care for us and for the sake of the relationship. Because we already turned to him. We already told him that we want to have this relationship. But there's an obstacle. The material desire is actually an obstacle to the relationship. And so it's very interesting. Krishna's so smart, he's just so intelligent that he's actually saying, yes, I'll give you this obstacle to our relationship for the sake of the relationship, but I'll also give you the process to remove the obstacle, and I'll help you in doing it. And by doing so, that obstacle will never come between us again. So it's actually very beautiful. Krishna is so loving, and he's so intelligent. Like he says, you may be a fool. You're a fool for wanting this, but I'm not a fool. I'm intelligent. I know how to handle this thing. So even when we have a material desire, we shouldn't think that we have to, leave Krishna consciousness to fulfill our material desire. Just stick with Krishna. Whatever it is that we think we need to do in this world, just stick with Krishna. Like, Krishna, all right, I know you don't really want me to do this, but anyways, can you help me? Can you help me out? I want to stick with you. I want to do this with you. I want to go through this experience, and can you just sort of like hold my hand while I destroy myself and pull me out of it when I'm done? So, and Krishna will. He's very tolerant. He's very patient with us, just like loving parents. So, it's just sad that a lot of devotees, they leave Krishna consciousness because of material desires. But what we're seeing here is that we don't need to leave Krishna consciousness. We don't let the material desires take us away. Yes, Amrita.
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada Priya. Thank you for such a nice class. I guess the main material desire that I see this manifesting as for devotees is like to get married, right? Or like, do you have any other examples? Because I feel like marriage and having children is like the main thing, like household life. And if that is the main thing, how do we make sure that we're not seeing our spouse, our children, as, like you were saying, the thing between me and Krishna that I need to hurry up and purify my heart from?
Yeah. I mean, you have to see your spouse and your children as servants of Krishna, and that you are serving Krishna together, and that this is your family is actually Vaishnav Sangha, it's Sadhu Sangha, right? And that.
But it's still our attachment to the
Yeah, I mean, so that's an example of fulfilling your material desire with Krishna, right? That I have this material desire, I have some, needs of my body and mind to be fulfilled in this situation. But Krishna, I know that it's not pure. My motive for entering into this relationship is not pure. It's not purely for your pleasure. It's also I'm seeking my own pleasure in this, but I want to do it with you. I want to share this experience with you. And so please be with me and guide my steps through this ashram, and help me to purify it, help me to navigate Grihastha ashram in a way that purifies these desires, so that the desires for my own enjoyment subside, and so that I can relate very purely with my spouse and children, and come to the stage of all of us just purely serving you together without any selfish desires for enjoyment mixed in there.
Do you have any other examples of how this manifests for devotees specifically?
Material desires that might take us away from Krishna consciousness. Yeah. All kinds of things.
Prestige for being a good
You want a
preacher.
mic?
Yeah, give Nandabraj a mic, please.
Some prestige, fame, wealth, so many different things that come in. All the opulences, right?
All the?
All the opulences, right?
Yeah.
Because Krishna is all attractive. He has all the opulences. He's willing to give the devotee all opulences. And so the devotee desiring those, Krishna gives him. Purifies them at the same time. So start to be a good book distributor, right? The topmost book distributor. Are you doing it for Krishna? Well, I think quite a few book distributors that we know do, but you can understand that they're fighting also with their false ego in that sense, you know what I mean? How much of my book distribution is for Krishna, for Srila Prabhupada? It says I'm a good book distributor.
Gokulananda?
Thank you so much for this discussion. It was a wonderful class, especially this particular section. I can relate to Uddhav Gita, 11th canto. It has been my favorite, most favorite of all the cantos, where I can relate to this. This brings out Krishna's magnanimous character for practicing devotee. There are so many flaws within us. Krishna mercifully tolerates. So thank you very much for bringing this up. And I would like to share, in connection with the desires, a personal experience I personally witnessed. When I lived in Mumbai, one devotee, because my service happened to be in the temple room, so he wanted to share.
Hold the mic a little
something.
closer.
Yeah, he wanted to share. He wanted to share what he was going through, and he told me that for it was almost 6 years, and he didn't have any children. So he was expressing, I know this is a material desire, and I don't want to, but at the same time, this has been bothering both of us, this desire. So I took him by the hand, and I took him in front of the deities, and I told him that my Guru Maharaj always used to say, even if you have any material desires, it's better to go to your own father. Krishna is our eternal father. And just say, if you so desire, my dear Lord, I have this desire, and if you so desire, please fulfill. And he prayed, and you won't believe within 15 days he came up to me with the goodness. So I personally witnessed this. And this happened in 6 different cases following that. Same thing. So this is true. It happens.
I need to go to Mumbai.
It could be anywhere, right?
Yeah, Krishna's here, Radhika Lachanji.
Just making a joke.
So yeah, so this is the demigods are glorifying this quality of the Lord, right? This is one of the Lord's wonderful qualities, is that He's merciful to devotees or devotees who approach Him with material desires. And that's one of the 4 kinds of pious people, right? Krishna says that the Chatur Vida Vajante Mam Jana Sukriti Arjuna Arto Artarti Jigyasu. What's the last thing? Jnani Cha Aratarshava. Yeah. So there's 4 kinds of people that approach Him, 4 kinds of pious people that approach Him. And one is who wants money, another is who's in distress and wants relief, and then another one is curious, and another wants knowledge. So, and He says these people are pious, and they're all very dear to me. Because anyone who approaches Krishna for any reason is very dear to Krishna, because there's so many people that aren't approaching Krishna at all. They're just totally ignoring him, going about their lives. So if somebody just turns to him, he's like, wow, this is like such a turning point, such a huge milestone in the journey of the soul, in their sojourn in the material world, that they're turning to Krishna for any reason at all. And so Krishna is going to fan the spark. Oh, you've turned to me. Yes, yes, yes. Take what you want. Just keep coming. Come back again. Take what you want. Come back again. Just keep coming back. And then gradually, gradually they get attached. The person experiences like...
Brother Kuti, it's an issue with YouTube. It's an issue with YouTube.
Yeah, I'm doing my best. My mouth is like 1 millimeter from the microphone.
It's Rupanika.
Sorry, Prabhu. I'm literally like with my mouth touching the microphone. Yeah, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, so Krishna rewards us. That's what he does. He rewards good behavior. He rewards us when we do things that he wants us to do. So when we approach him, then he rewards us by by making us happy for having approached him. And but gradually he gives us a higher taste, right? Like he takes away the dirt and he gives us the sandesh. and then we're like, what? Then we stop approaching him for dirt. Like, Krishna, I've been approaching you for dirt for so many times. I got a pile of dirt and it's not making me happy. So Krishna's like, okay, try sandesh. Oh, that's so much better than dirt. And then you're never going to ask for dirt again. You're just going to ask for sandesh, burfi, rasagula. In other words, Krishna's lotus feet. The service of Krishna. Okay, Premamrita, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I was just thinking that this shift is a shift in consciousness. So nothing might change externally. You might still be in the exact same situation, exact same service, but it's like it's your perception of the situation around you, your relationship with the people around you, not exactly like what it looks like externally.
I didn't understand your point.
I don't understand either. Thank you.
Yeah, so we have these material desires to fulfill. Say that there's so many. Just for the same, to keep the same example going, there's so many amazing saintly devotees that are in Grihastha ashram. So you're in Grihastha ashram and you have the desire to enjoy. It looks like Grihastha ashram. You're in Grihastha ashram and your desire to enjoy has been purified. It still looks like Grihastha ashram.
Mm-hmm.
It's an internal relationship with Krishna.
Yeah.
Yes.
Desiring the dirt versus the sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's true of any ashram. Right? Yeah. Not all brahmacharis are just, I'm the humble servant of my Guru Maharaj, Not all grihasthas are, whatever. It's an individual thing, and then we're just trying to be in the ashram that best suits us, and we're trying to work through our anarthas in the appropriate ashram.
Yeah.
Yes, Mother Kunti.
Sorry. I'm sorry to upstage like that with the mic. Please forgive me.
Thank you, and I'm sorry about the mic.
You're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're trying to serve the devotees so that they can hear Bhagavatam. It's all very noble.
Yes. Rubber stamping. I remember when I was about 5 years into the movement, 81, 82, somewhere around there, and I was accused of rubber stamping or stereotyping and making people cookie cutter. Like one devotee came up to me and said, you're nice, you're really enthusiastic, you love to chant all your rounds and go to the temple and preach, go on Harinam and give street books. But not everybody's going to be like you. And you have a tendency to try to mold people. And don't you say you have to let people be themselves. So today I had the experience, I was in the Pujari room, and I'll bring it to an example. I have a really nice friend here in the temple, and I brought her in the Pujari room and asked her if she wanted to learn how to make vases. And so she was starting, and she was trying, and then she was cutting some flowers, but then I could see she just wasn't really into it, And I really could have used the help, but at the same time, I didn't want to, in other words, you can't, what is it? it's love, so you can't dictate love.
Mhm.
You can't pronounce it what it's gonna be. So I looked at her and said, would you like to go chant your rounds instead? And she said, oh yes, I would really love that. So, and I said, okay, go chant your rounds, it's all right, you know, and it worked out. John.
Jai. Thank you. Did you want to? No. Okay, so we're over time. I am going to end here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi.